Hi, my name is Alice, and today it was raining, so this is why I'm posing for you in my raincoat and my grandma.
Hey guys, so in this video I'm just going to go over some of the changes I made to the puppet in order to get the acting that you just saw. So first off, I want to show you the original Alice puppet here and the head modifications that I made. And we'll zoom in on the head just so you can see what I've got. The things that I did differently here was to take the hair completely off the face and then create a back hair element, as you can kind of see here. Face that kind of covered the back hair. Hair that's on the left side, so it's a strand by itself, as you can kind of see. Let me just go ahead and select it. So it's this little strand here that will move by itself or dangle. This strand on the right, which is identical to the left, just will dangle. The hair on the top, which covers the side hair and kind of sits up there. So those are the changes I made on the head so that the hair would have a little bit of movement. Now on the body I made some significant changes, so I want to show you those. First off, I separated the left and right arms and the left and right legs. So I've got the leg here, which is by itself here, and it's under the jacket but behind the back of the coat, so, or in front of the back of the coat. So as you can see, it kind of sits in between the body and the coat, and the body itself is now just a jacket, so you can kind of see that. I've got the right leg, I've got my left leg here, both again going to be moving from here, so these are separated with a plus left leg plus right leg. Now I also have the arms like I did before, but I did something a little bit special with the arms. For instance, the right arm, as you can kind of see here, is actually the right arm and then two different hands that are located in a folder. So in the right hand going down, and you can kind of see that if I zoom in here, and then if I switch, the right hand going up, and you'll see that the arm itself will hide that, so one will switch with the other. This is called the swap set that we're going to go over in Character Animator, and in order for this to work, we need things to swap between. So I made a right hand group, and I also did the same thing with the left hand or the left arm itself. So you can kind of see here are the two things. I've got the hand going down just like on the other side, and then I have these two items, the umbrella and the hand holding the umbrella. These will actually work in tandem so that the hand will be holding the umbrella or it'll be just by itself. So these are the changes I made to the puppet. The hand swap sets available, and separating the arms with the plus and putting those into groups, and then separating the legs as individual items with a plus as well. So let's switch over to Character Animator. And so we've got our puppet in Character Animator, as you can kind of see. First off, the head is going to be selected as the head. I also put the head anchor point at the neck, and I went ahead and assigned it the neck as well. Another thing I'm going to do with this neck on the head is going to make it draggable. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the word draggable here. The next thing is the left eyebrow, same as before. Right eyebrow, right eye, left eye. Both of them have a pupil that's actually, as you can kind of see, correctly like anchored. So these are all the same. The mouth group is the same as before, and then finally the little nose group is the same as before. The next thing I'm going to do is go to my hair, the top, and you'll notice that it's not an independent layer because we don't have a crown, and that's just going to stick to the top of the hair and not move, and it's going to hide everything underneath it. So you can kind of see if I turn it off and on, it's there, and so it'll hide a little bit of this going on. We're going to make them independent so you can see the outline. I'm going to put the anchor point for the hair group here because this is where it attaches to the head, and then I'm going to add a dangle, which is this little tool right here. You can add a normal just a normal anchor point like this if you want, and then click on the word dangle, and that will turn that into a dangling handle, or you can click here and that would be the same. I'm going to do the same with my left hair group. I'm going to take the anchor point, I'm going to attach it up here on the head. Notice how it turns green just like with our arms. We definitely want to have it attached to the green area and not outside, so it's going to attach right there, and we're going to put our handle here and right here, and we're going to dangle that as well. So what will happen is these will pull down like little weights, and the hair itself will be very much like a little bit rubbery. Now I could add a little bit of bones to the hair to make them a little stiffer at the top here. So for the left hair and the right hair, just so it doesn't over dangle, and that means it'll kind of pull from here. And notice that my dangle is on the inside and this one's on the outside, but for consistency, I'm going to move this dangle group out here. Finally, we have our face background, and behind that we have our back of our hair, and it is also independent. So what that means is it will pull down, but it needs to be anchored so it doesn't move. And for this, we're going to go ahead and either click on our little pin tool right here, or we could use just regular handles. And by pinning things, it will actually adhere these 2 points to the top of the head. So these will not move, but you know that if we wanted to, we could now add a dangle here, and then maybe one in the middle, and then one here. And we'll see how that looks. Maybe that's too many, but this should allow the hair to kind of sway back and forth for the back of the hair. Okay, for the body, just let's open this up, and you'll notice both the head and the body are not independent. That means that if you move your head, the body should move slightly. And we're going to start with our right arm. Use our move tool is we're going to anchor our right arm to where it anchors on the coat right here at the shoulder, and we're going to go ahead and label that as the shoulder. And then very quickly we're going to go through and make the elbow and the wrist, and I'm going to just put some bones in very quickly, and then I'm going to go ahead and tag those based on their location. So select the pointy tool again, click here, make that a wrist, click here, make that an elbow. There we go. And we're going to do the same to the left arm. Notice we're going to be putting in the anchors very quickly. We want to use this anchor point. We're going to move that up here to where it rotates or moves, and we're going to go ahead and assign that our left. Then we're going to put one here at the elbow, one at the wrist. We're going to go ahead and label the one at the wrist here, and then I'm going to click the one here and then label it as the elbow. And then finally put a couple of bones in, a couple sticks, just so, and we're making sure we do not overlap those anchor points. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is going to go to left leg. Again, I'm going to move our anchor point for our left leg here. I'm going to go ahead and assign that the pelvis area or the hip, and then put in 2 more dots, one for the knee and then one for the shin, and we're going to label that our ankle, and one for our knee. And then we're going to go ahead and put some bones in as well, and we do want to get our feet group in as well, so might as well do that now. Just going to put our little dot here, and this is going to be our heel and our toe, and we're going to label the toe, and we're going to label the heel. And one more thing on the heel, because we want to be able to move the leg up and down, we're going to make the heel draggable. That was something I forgot to do on the left arm, was to make this wrist here draggable, and the right arm as well, because we want to be able to move these limbs like this, make that our right wrist, and then make that draggable. Then finally, our right leg, we're going to go ahead, anchor point, it's going to overlap right there. We're going to add our knee handle here, knee, label it, ankle, ankle, heel, heel, and toe, and toe. There we go. And then add some sticks in. And then we're not going to forget the draggability thing for the toes, or for the heel. So we're going to go to the heel, select it, and then make that draggable. So we've got a draggable heel, draggable wrists, and we should be good to go. Now we're going to go ahead and select our Alice final here, and we're going to add our behavior limb IK and make sure that it actually turns out okay. So let's go ahead, limb IK being okay by opening up our handles and making sure we do not have any zeros. We do have a couple zeros, the waist, the right hip, and the right toe. So let's take a look at our right leg. So our right toe we seem to have overlooked, so I'm going to go ahead and get that. Our right waist we have also over the right hip we overlooked, and then we didn't put a waist in. So I'm going to select the body group here, and the body will rotate around here, but I'm going to go ahead and add an anchor point right where in between the two legs right here, and call that our waist. There we go. Now we're going to go back to Alice and make sure, again, our handles now are all ones, and they are. So at this point, if I were to create a new scene for our Alice character by hitting the clap stick, you'll see this new scene right here. I can go ahead and name it something. Let's name it New Alice. And you can kind of see if I go ahead and select my Alice character and transform the scale down to around 50%. I should be able to drag it from her neck because I've got a draggable there, right? I'm going to recalibrate my head movement. Now you'll notice that the hair itself has got some problems. We're going to fix that, and we can move our arms. That seems good. We can move one leg, but we can't move the other, so there's a problem here, and there's a problem with our hair. So hopefully this will be easily solved. So let's go to our right leg and click on our right heel, and notice that it is not draggable. So let's go ahead and fix that. Make the heel draggable. Oops, undo that. I guess we had a draggable here. Somehow that got draggable. Let's click on the right location here and make that draggable. Great. And then we had an issue with the hair, so let's take a look at the back of our hair. So it is independent from our head, which could be a problem, and I'm thinking make that hair not independent. So here's the back of our hair, and I'm just going to uncheck this little crown, and then we're going to go back to the record, and that makes the hair not independent. And so we should be able to see that hair is now moving much more with the head. So as our head moves, the hair itself also moves. Now you'll notice that the eyes here, I'm going to go ahead and move our position here so you can see the eyes. You'll notice the eyes are moving way too far to the right or left, and so we're going to open up our eye gaze just like we did before, and we already know that our strength should be around 60 for all of these. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Our eyebrows are moving. We could modify the strength if we needed to for any of these things. Eyebrow strength, our head movement strength, those kinds of things. So things are looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and zoom back out. And then let's go back to our rig. What we're going to be doing is creating something called the swap set. So let me go ahead and show you how that works. So in this triggers area, I'm going to go ahead and delete these because we don't need these anymore. In order to create a swap set, normally you would hit the little plus button here, but because this is an updated version, another way to do it is to go to the folder that has all the various layers that you would like to swap and drag that folder into this area and create a swap set in this way. Notice mine is called right hands. Now if you wanted to rename that, you could just hit the return key and then just call it right hands or whatever you wanted to. Now you're going to get both layers in here, and so you're going to select the default layer that's normally on, and you can see this right hand down. That's our default, and you can kind of see that it's on by default because we've got the check mark here. If it's not checked already, please go ahead and check it. That means that when you're not doing anything, this by default will be on. Now when you press a button, something will happen. This one will turn off and this one will turn on. So I'm going to click the R key on the keyboard, and what's going to happen is when I hit the R key, the right hand will turn on. In other words, this one will turn off, right? And then this one will turn on. And we can check to see if this is working just by going to our record area and hitting the R button. And you can kind of see if I hit the R button, you'll notice that my hand flips up, and if I let go of the R, it goes back down. Now it's sometimes very hard to keep your finger down on the R button, so what we're going to do is go back to our rig mode, and we're going to latch this right here. So we're going to hit this latch key right here, or this latch trigger, and what that will do is that it'll allow us to just hit the R once and then take our finger off the button, as you can see, and move things around, right, and just whatever, and then when we're ready to flip back, we can hit the R again, and that'll allow us to flip back. Okay, so again, let's just do this one more time with our left hand group. To create a swap set, you'll either press the button here to create a whole new swap set, or they've made it pretty easy. We're going to find a layer with all the different layers here, and we're going to drag this into this area, and we're going to create a swap set. We're going to rename it just by hitting the return, left hands. And by default, the open one should be selected, but if it's not, click on the one that is currently on. In this case, it's just a hand open like that. And then to turn these on, now there are two of them, so the umbrella and the left hand close. I would like both of these to turn on with the letter L. But instead of putting the L for both of these, I'm going to take this umbrella and drag it into this group right here, into this layer. So now that this left hand closed has both the left hand closed and the umbrella. And then for this one, I'm going to hit the L button for left, so that when I hit the L button, it's going to turn this umbrella on. And then I'm going to latch it so that I have to hit that letter twice in order to turn it off and on. And you can kind of see how this is going to work. Okay, so we're going to zoom out, fit that to screen, and I'm going to hit the L button, and there we go, and then L button again, L, and you can kind of see everything is working as expected. Great. L again. So let's go back to our rig. Now, a couple more things we're going to do to make our lives easier during our recording is we're going to add another behavior to Alice. So we're going to select Alice, go to the behaviors, and we're going to add auto blink. This will allow the character to automatically blink 30 times per second while it's being recorded, so you don't have to think about that at all. So that's one thing we're going to add. Another thing that we're going to add are 2 or 3 more draggers. Like, you'll notice that we can drag this wrist, the other wrist, the foot, the other foot, and then the entire body to make Alice move around on the screen, as you can kind of see. Right, and so this is our body movement, this is our hand movement, this is our other hand, and even our feet now can be moved, as you can kind of see. But the problem with this is that if we were to record any of these handles with our dragger behavior, everything is going to be located in this dragger. So if we wanted to record something different, like if we want to move this hand with the dragger and then re-record over and move this hand, we're going to need 2 draggers just to get those to work independently. And we also have feet, so I'll want those to work independently. And finally, we'll have our body dragger, and we're going to want that to work independently. So I'm going to add 3 additional draggers to our puppet here, to our rig. And the way we're going to do that is just go to behaviors, hit the plus, and select dragger, and then hit the plus and select dragger again, and then hit the plus and select dragger again. And because these are not very useful names, I'm just going to go ahead and name each one. So I'm going to rename this dragger, call it drag body, so that I know will be my body dragger. I'm going to rename this dragger drag right arm, and the next one I'm going to, and it doesn't matter which is which, I'm going to rename this one drag left arm, and then finally the last dragger that we haven't named, I'm just going to call that drag feet. No pun intended. Drag feet. Because I only need to move 1 foot at a time, I don't need both feet to be moving. And if I did, I could fix that. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 draggers all together, which will allow us to do something like this. Let me show you what this looks like. So we have Alice, and so if I, for instance, wanted Alice bouncing up and down like this, I would just go ahead and put my playhead where I'd like it recorded. Now, you guys know already, we've talked about this, but if you click on the actual scene itself, in this case, it's Alice. Let's see, which scene are we in right now? We're in the new Alice scene right here. You'll notice that I've got a total of 30 seconds here, and we're going to want that to be 45. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that. Now I've got a 45-second, as you can see if I zoom out, 45-second time period to work with Alice here. And I'm just going to put the playhead right here just so you can see how this works. I'm going to disarm everything but the drag body. So everything else is disarmed, including the triggers. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit the record, and I'm going to make sure that I just drag the body. Now I could drag anything I want, but because I've kind of set it up this way, I know I want to only drag the body when we do this. So you can kind of see that if I actually move the body up and down, just making her do calisthenics or something like that, and hit the stop button, you'll notice that the handle, draggable left wrist, and then the head behavior, both of those kind of like got moved, and you can see that that gets moved right here. Up and down. And I'm going to just take this, we don't need this voice thing here. In fact, I'm going to turn off the microphone because we don't need it. So now if I want to add to this, so I'm going to just show you what this looks like. So if I want to add to this motion by making the right arm or the left arm move, I can actually just go back to where we started, or anywhere you want really, and go ahead and select Alice, arm Alice, turn off the body, but turn on the drag left arm, and then I know to only drag the left arm in this case. I'm going to hit the, I'm going to also allow the trigger to be on, because we're going to hit the L button because I would like the umbrella. So L is latched at this point, and we're going to hit the record button. And so while she's moving up and down, what we're doing is just moving the hand, as you can kind of see, up and down. And those two draggers are going to be two separate things, and so they will work together. You can kind of see there. Now, you can move these around, of course, individually, and you can continue dragging the right arm and then dragging the feet, and so you'll have 4 different recordings of this. And you can see the trigger is also selected here, the right hand close trigger. If this gets moved to a different location, for instance, it'll move whether or not the hand is open or closed by default. So you can kind of see, if I disarm Alice, you'll see that that's kind of floating there the whole time, right? So this is how you would go like multiple passes to record several draggers at the same time. Now with Alice here, what I did already have was an audio recording. And so if I were to bring that audio recording in that I recorded for her voice and using my phone, I could just do that, going File, Import, and find the audio file. Now the audio file has to be an AIFF. So I have it located right here in this Alice folder, but I'm going to import that, and I'm going to take this audio and drag it into my timeline so you can see it.
This is Alice.
So you can kind of see it's first off, it's very loud.
And today it was raining.
So Alice now has a voice, but I'd like to now attach that voice to the puppet. Instead of recording my own voice and doing all these things, you can pre-record this. And what you'll do with Alice is go ahead and arm Alice. We're going to turn off the draggers, and we're going to arm the lip sync. Once we've armed the lip sync, we were allowed to then go up here to the timeline and compute the lip sync take from the scene audio, the audio that I dragged into the scene. When I do that, it'll read the audio and go through it, and then what you're going to see down here are the visemes or the phonemes for the actual voice. And if you see, I'm going to zoom in a couple times, you can actually see the voice. And you can also see there are some issues associated, like there's no S here, so you can actually go through and delete the various things that are not necessary or incorrectly done. Like for instance, this S seems to be the last place she says something, and then this is extra. So we can go ahead and delete these things and modify the S to be something like that. These are not actually used, so we're deleting them. Oops. This one, just delete it. And so go through a little bit step by step and make sure that all your phonemes are correct, especially the points where she's not making any sound. Make sure that that voice goes away. Now I've got my audio, as you can kind of see on my track, so that's been done. And then I've got a couple of takes here, so you can kind of see.
I don't even have bones. as you can see.
So if you like what you're seeing and you don't want to deal with it visually anymore because this is going to get really thick, you can actually shy these layers. I'm going to shy my lip sync. I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to shy my body because I'm not going to drag it, for instance, anymore. And then to get these out of the way temporarily, you can click the main shy here. And that's going to hide everything. And then when you click it again, it's going to show everything that's been shied. So it's a nice way of cleaning up your timeline. When you're happy or done with one area completely, you shy it. It goes away, but it's not really gone away. It's just been like hidden from view, as you can kind of see. Okay, so that's how you record audio from or use audio that you've pre-recorded to create lip sync. All right. We've got our triggers going on, and finally let's do one last thing. I'm going to show you how to set up a look, a key pose, and then actually just trigger that using a trigger, because we've got some triggers here that we've made, an L, and you can kind of see the right hand trigger has the R, right? But we're going to actually create a look like some type of trigger that will make a recording of Alice doing something when we hit a button. So we're going to need a dragger, and in this case I'm just going to arm like one of the draggers. I really don't care. Let's just do feet. Now remember, when you arm this dragger, that's where all the movements and things are going to be stored. So maybe you want to have a new dragger that is just pose to pose dragging, so that you don't mess up the feet, because once the dragger is being used, you won't be able to use that anymore for any of the other things. But we're going to go ahead and just temporarily use the drag feet behavior right here. And what I'm going to do is set Alice up in a look or a position. So she's going to just be sitting like this, just kind of like that. And I'm even going to open up the transform area here and just move her up a little bit so that we can see. So we've got her like this, we've got this going like this, and maybe her foot like this and like that, and then we'll bring her down with our transform. But you're getting the idea. Like you want to look maybe something like that, and you would like her to get into that look without having to do any work. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the timeline, and you're just going to record 2-frame take, or command 2, which is the easier way. So command 2, and what that's going to do is, as you can see under the drag feet behavior here, it's going to record all these different elements. And what we're going to do is make these, we're going to select them all and expand them so that they actually are longer than 2 frames.
Lovely.
And you can kind of see that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see it. You can actually create a specific key pose just using a 2-frame take. I'm expanding this so you can kind of see how a little bit more. And so when she we can also put a little bit of like fade in and fade out, so she gets from one pose to another. So anytime you want this pose, you just move these items around, and that's going to make her do this.
Lovely. But
So if you needed another pose, I'll just move it to another area, and I'll just do this. Like maybe that's what she's doing, I don't know. And then like this, and something like this. And then maybe the R button, she's like flipped around, and the U button, or the L button here, maybe she's holding her. So maybe this is a pose. And so I'm going to do command 2. And that makes another pose. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can open these up, make them be a little longer, and then add a little bit of a fade in and a fade out. Anyway, that becomes a pose, and you can kind of see how these poses can overlap. I'm going to allow them to overlap so it can go from one pose to another. I'm just going to play this back, turn this off.
kind of lovely.
One pose
My
to another.
favorite.
And you can see it got into that pose very quickly, so you can always modify the handles. Now the nice thing about these poses, besides just being able to drag them around and copy and paste them, is you can actually select all of these and right click on them and create a replay trigger just like this. And what that does is over here, it creates a trigger under that drag feet behavior. Again, this would be a different behavior. And you can rename that. Just call it 1 foot. And we're going to give it a key or something like, let's do N for Nancy. And so at this point, this trigger is actually workable. So like if I have my triggers turned on, let me go ahead and arm Alice here and turn on my triggers, and I can turn off the drag feet behavior. Now if I use the N and hold the N down, you can see I get into that key pose. So you can have lots of these key poses. You can also latch it so that she's permanently hit the N button and she gets into the key pose. Then you don't have to worry about it, and when you're done with that key pose, you hit the N button again to remove it. So hopefully this has helped a little bit just to go over how I went about creating a recording for Alice. Again, what I did was to go through in about 6 passes, one arm at a time, the feet as one pass, the body as another pass, the lip sync as a pass, and then finally the face. And then brought it all into motion, added a light, a little bit of a background, and some effects like rain, and created this animation. Hope you like it.